All right, what's up, everybody? Let's do this thing. Welcome back to today's video on Cork Stats, my new YouTube channel. It's your host, Big Johnny Stud, the big dude with the big mouth from the Big Apple, coming to you worldwide from Brooklyn, New York. As always, hope everyone is having a happy and healthy holiday season. I'm really loving this new project. Thank you to everyone out there who's supporting and getting up in the comments. DMs on Twitter have been going off. I really do appreciate it, and I think people are picking up exactly what I'm putting down. Let's dive right on into today's topic of conversation as we make our way through the SP ranks at the very top. There really has been a very kind of clear top tier in fantasy baseball drafts this year with Corbin Burns and Garrett Cole. But after that, I have seen the next maybe 8 to 10 pitchers go in all different orders. Buehler and Scherzer, Woodruff, Nola, and even today's topic, Lucas Giolito, the ace, my paisan from the Chicago White Sox, wrong side of the tracks in Chi-Town. Let's take a look at Giolito last year, what he did, what we think he may do, why, and how we think we're going to do next year if we're going to be spending that big time draft capital on him. Again, I always preface all these videos with, if the conclusion is something less than stellar, it doesn't mean I don't think these pitchers are any good. It's just our job as analysts and high-stake fantasy baseball players to pull all the threads and break out the electron microscope when we're making these really important decisions. So last year, Giolito was excellent, made all of his starts, 32 of those, just under 180 innings pitched. Nothing wrong with that. 11 wins, over 200 Ks. 3.53 ERA, 110 WHIP, backed up with a 3.72 Sierra, 3.75 xFIP, and a 6.70 OPS. I always like to add OPS with my ERA indicators and WHIP to make a third point on the line. ERA and WHIP, they don't really tell enough of the story. I always like a third point on the line to either validate or invalidate it. We'll keep going through the statistical baskets. Into disciplinary metrics we go, where he was very strong as always. 28% K to only 7% walk, K minus walk, up over 20, which is where you want to be. Swinging strike rate over 16, CSW, that's your called strikes plus whiffs, right around 32, 2 ticks better than excellent. Chase rate, best of his career, but only 33%, and his in-zone contact rate down at 78. That is phenomenal. That's what you want to see. A pitcher that can beat the batter even when he's behind and get swings and misses, beat you in the zone. Really good stuff there. I know I've heard some people worry about the elevation basket for Giolito. That's my third basket when I break down pitchers. The ground ball rate is a bit low at 33%. The line drive rate was a bit high at 24%. The fly ball rate at 42. That's the one I'd like to circle because 13% of those were infield flies, which have a 0 batting average. Not too worried about those. It's that line drive rate that we really want to worry about, though he does keep the hard hit rates in check. 34% on Fangraphs, 39% on Savant. The only difference is Fangraphs uses a human subjective element. Savant uses a raw 95-mile-an-hour metric, so it's normal that the metric will be higher on Savant. Neither one of those really too bad. The barrel rate right at 7, blast rate at 4. If you're unfamiliar with blast, they're the optimal subset of barrels, right? It's the barrel of barrels. It's the best case scenario. It's something I had really been focusing on after we heard about the change in the ball, which was lightened in the core, which made the ball jump, but just at the point of contact. So we were seeing higher exit velocities, higher expected outputs at the point of contact, but because they raised the seams and increased the drag, think of it as a little flap. The longer it's in the air, the longer that flap can create impedance, resistance that was hurting balls. So I was really trying to focus on blast and not just the balls that may have kind of erroneously been placed in the barrel there. So again, that's what you come to Cork Stats for, to hang out with the big man, to get the nuance and the context. Back into the batted ball stats for Giolito. 296 WOBA on the season. Anything under 300 is excellent. Expected WOBA 292, really just great. WOBA on contact 382. Expected WOBA on contact 378. Those contact metrics are not great, but sometimes that can be a function of an ace that throws a lot of high fastballs, and they can tend to end up in the seats with home runs. That was a major concern last year for Giolito. Home run rate 1.33, which I know is just average, but it's a little bit high for our ace. You know, one of the first things I like to do in my handicapping work, which is it's always behind the paywall, which is kind of why I'm enjoying this YouTube venture so much. I get to show everybody a bit of what happens, once the wall kind of goes up, So I always kind of look at splits just to see really what we could see, right? The first place to start. So you get into the splits, and Giolito, something I like to call split proof, which is a 300 WOBA or less on the road at home versus lefties or versus righties. Gio accomplished all that. There is a 301 in there. Let's not split hairs on a thousandth of a point. Those bips really not a point of reaction. And this is all with a very rough start for Gio. First 8 starts out of the box, he had a 5 ERA, 1.3 whip, 10% walk rate, 1.7 home runs per 9. I know some people were getting ready to pull the cord. I saw some trades. I was one of the people buying low. I usually believe in the back of the baseball card coming to fruition that early with that kind of proven talent that we saw in Giolito, and he did correct course. The 24 games after that, the last 24, 3.27 ERA, 1.06 whip, 6% walk rate, 1.25 home runs per 9, right where you'd think he'd been. So you kind of think about the home runs being an issue, and then I noticed that a lot of those happened at home. So Giolito had 2 home runs or more 7 times last year. 5 of 7 of those were at home. So one of my eyebrows kind of raised. I decided to dig into the park factors. Now, though, where the White Sox play, whatever corporate name it has now, I don't believe in using those names. I don't care about that. It's White Sox Field, if you ask me. It is neutral as far as park factors go. But the big shaking button on this one is it's tied for 3rd in home runs. So it is a very good park for hitters to hit home runs, but bad for pitchers to surrender it. So some of what we saw there might be answered there. Last year, Gio had 91 innings pitched on the road, 3.25 ERA, only 9 home runs allowed. Very good. On the road, 87 innings pitched, so less of those, 3.82 ERA, not disastrous, but 18 home runs. That was a major issue, something we're going to have to keep an eye on. Of course, the home park is not going to change. Maybe it will be something that they begin to adjust to going forward. So, of course, once we start to dive into the arsenal, we want to look at the fastball first, getting a little savvy with these graphics. Got 3 in 1, 7 in 1 below. If you get that reference, get up in the comments and let me know. I'll send you a baseball card. The velo on the fastball, the spin, and the rise, that all-important vertical movement are all really good. We see the trends going in the right direction. We also want to keep in mind Gio had a very disastrous start to the career and really took off at 2019. Those are the trends we're looking for, and he's been excellent since. Let's look at the stats on the fastball in general from last year. I've kind of developed my own triple slash. It's usage, X-slug, and whiff rate to give you an idea of deployment, batted ball quality, and then all-important swing and miss. They were just okay. 44% use. Now, that's really a hyper-focused primary pitch. A 4.49 X-slug is not great. 26% whiff rate, also not great. Now, it's pretty good for a fastball, but maybe not so great considering the amount of usage, and he gave up 11 home runs on that. So let's dive in a little bit further, exactly what you come here for, that context and the nuance that I talk about. Let's look at the fastball location. Yeah, it was a bit spotty. You could see the home runs allowed on the fastball on the right. Those locations are not good. And probably a small tangent here would be where and why we want to be careful in regressing fly balls sometimes. So those misses are not fly balls we want to regress. In general, it's a good idea to think about regressing fly balls. But when we're diving in and getting granular, there are some fly balls that are home runs. Those are going to be home runs every single time, regardless of fly ball rate. So spotty has been a bit touch and go for Gio, but with the really low walk rate, especially that we saw in the back 2/3 of the season, that is something that we can get past. We do not want to overreact to it, and it's just the reason why we've seen some of the struggles. Now, the flip side of those struggles is where Gio has been excellent, and it's the off-speed offerings, the slider and the changeup. Let me just take a quick stop right here, and I want to thank and cite Mr. Alex Chamberlain. Follow him on the Twitter machine. His work at Fangraphs and his pitch leaderboard, which you're looking at, are inimitable. He provides it to the public, and I just want to make sure that I'm giving proper credit to all the sites like Savant, Fangraphs, Brooks Baseball, and of course Alex Chamberlain as I cite these things, because without them there would be no me or none of these videos. So let's get back into the off-speed offering there. Nothing short of elite, phenomenal. Enter word for awesome here. The slider changeup combo is sick. Last year combined 53% use, so he only throws his 3 pitches. 53% use, 310 X slug, 37% whiff. I mean, that is just jumping off the page. I'd like to see him use them even a bit more. And if we go back to 2019, when we saw that resurgence, they have a sub 250 xWOBA, a 39% whiff rate, so this is not a small sample thing. That is a sustained trend, something we want to see more of from the slider and the change. And if you're wondering just why it's so effective outside of the movement and that difference in speed, you know, at this point we're talking about 15 miles an hour difference in velocity in the differing offerings, which is really excellent and adds a very deceptive element. But you also see on the right there the very tight release points, which is also really important and adds to that deception that I mentioned. Something that, you know, surface stat digging is just not going to get you. And it's something that we've seen Gio excel in, and that has kind of taken his success with it. And now once you have the difference in speed, you have the similar release points, you then also get opposite breaks. So the pitch comes from the same spot and then has an opposite break. Really, really good stuff from Gio, and why he's been just, you know, part of why he's been so excellent, I should say. One other thing that I picked up on that I'm really loving, since we're speaking about the off-speed stuff, is the changeup. Now, he added the changeup in mid-May. It doesn't perfectly coincide with his turnaround. I think that had more to do with control and the walks, but this is a tangible difference in the arsenal, and something that I think projections fail to pick up on. Again, they do inimitable work, and places like Steamer or Zips or Derek Hardy at the bat, who I like to consider as a friend of mine, are all orders of magnitude smarter than I am, but they'd all probably admit that projections can be flawed. With pitchers, I think they're more easily flawed because a change, uptick in velocity, mechanical change, can kind of set them on a new trajectory, leaving those past stats maybe a bit more irrelevant than we'd like to admit. So he added a curveball to the arsenal. Now, it's really just a tertiary pitch, right? It has a very low use rate, but extremely effective. 40% whiff rate, 18% put away pitch. That's the big number we want to look at. He pulls it out of his pocket when he needs the rabbit from the hat to get out of it. You see the image on the left. It also has a deceptive image to it, you know, a visual deceptive element where it mirrors that fastball and the change before it drops off the table to lefties. It is extremely effective, and I could show you a couple examples here, and he uses it against, you know, top talent as well. Keep an eye here. Kyle Tucker is awesome. He got fooled, did not have a chance at that. Austin Meadows, another phenomenal hitter. He's not going to have a chance at that. Missed that by a foot. And then he can even drop it in on the righties. It's very, very tough pitch to even contend with. Again, not a prayer at catching up with that one. So Gio's addition of the curveball, for me, is one of the things that are separating him from the pack in that second tier of aces, or the top of SP2, however you want to consider it. But I'm pushing Gio up above other players that we've seen, in particular above somebody like Aaron Nola that we covered yesterday. And now before we get out of here, of course, we want to look forward. The best place to do that is with projections. I didn't mean to knock them because I do use them, but they should just be a tool in the tool belt and not the only thing you use. Steamer has Giolito pegged for a 4 ERA and a 1.21 whip. I'm not sure I'm buying that. Going back to 2019, that's 420 innings. He's a 3.48 ERA with a 1.08 whip. Steamer's also projecting similar metrics as far as discipline goes, so I'm not sure where they're getting that. I'm going to buck the much smarter people than me when it comes to Giolito, and I think he'll be more in line with what we've seen. So I'm looking at a mid-3 to low-3 ERA, depending on batted ball luck, and a kind of a low 1 whip. Give me all the Giolito for this season. I am pushing him up. I totally love what I see here. The home runs at home can be an issue, but the fastball velo is there, the shape is there, the rise is there, and now we have an addition to the arsenal, making him one of my favorite SP2s or back-end SP1s on the board. So you heard it here first. Get behind Gio. He is in line for a phenomenal season. The White Sox have the offense. They also have an excellent bullpen. He should be in line for a ton of wins as well. And I think you're going to be seeing a couple of Cy Young votes for my paisan from the wrong side of the south side of Chi-Town. So thank you everybody for sticking around and picking up what I'm putting down. Hopefully these videos can remain evergreen throughout the offseason. Please feel free to go back and check them all out. Make sure you hit that like button and please subscribe. Tell your friends, maybe not your league mates because you want to get ahead of them. But I think that'll do it from us. Remember, when you work this hard, it feels a lot less like luck. Big Johnny signing out. I catch you on the flip side, man. Peace.